All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everyone.
And we got some really interesting data that's coming in that is inspiring the hashtag Yang beats Trump or Yang fears Trump, or there's a million hashtags.
I don't think it's Yang
suggested
fears
right
Trump.
now.
I think it might be Trump fears Yang.
No, Trump fears Yang. Sorry, totally botched that intro. Anyway, there's some mixed feelings about this. Is this a good idea? A lot of people are basically planning on storming Twitter tomorrow to try and make it go trending based upon some enthusiasm from the Emerson poll. So we're going to dive right in and analyze whether the hashtag's a good idea, how much enthusiasm can be generated from the Emerson poll, what the good news is, the bad news is, the ugly news. I mean, the ugly. You get what I'm saying. Cody, bail me out. This is the worst intro of all time.
Yeah. Well, I guess a little background. Basically, what we're talking about is today a new poll came out from Emerson Polling Center, I believe. Emerson Polling. Yes, correct. And I'll put it on screen. Basically, there's two main proponents of this poll we're going to be looking at. The first is the Democratic primary polling data. So this first poll you're looking at, it's registered Democratic primary voters. I believe it was 483 people with a margin of error about 4% in New Hampshire. Again, in New Hampshire, early voting state. From here, we can see that Joe Biden is still ahead, but his lead is slipping big time. Warren is basically making Sanders irrelevant. She's kind of just overtaking his entire campaign. Andrew Yang is actually at 3%. One of the things that, like I said, when Andrew Yang is at like 1% in a poll, people are really good at figuring out why the polls don't matter. But to be frank, John Delaney's polling dead even with him, and he's behind Cory Booker. I don't really know how important this really is in the state, because in the state of New Hampshire, it's so early. I don't think Biden's going to win, so I think the vote's going to be just diffused somewhere else. Anyway, this is what people are talking online. So this is a larger sample size. This is between 1,041 registered voters, both parties, and head-to-head who is going to win. Now, the big takeaway headline here, Andrew Yang is right behind Joe Biden. I think it's like a 1% different margin there.
Yeah.
Very, very, very similar. What I think's funny, the only person on here who doesn't beat Trump is Elizabeth Warren, which is what everybody says. But again, I want to go up here and show you something. Elizabeth Warren also is probably, if the vote were today, I think she actually wins the primary.
No, all over, there is chatter in all kinds of legitimate Democrat circles saying Elizabeth Warren is the shadow frontrunner. Okay, that's what they keep calling her, the shadow frontrunner, because she's everybody's second choice. Yeah, she's the number one candidate that when people ask, what is your second choice? Everybody says Elizabeth Warren. Kamala Harris fans, Joe Biden fans, Bernie Sanders fans. When you ask who is your second choice, they all say Elizabeth Warren. And the big candidates keep doing things to make people fall out of love with them. Joe Biden keeps looking older and older and gaffing harder and harder and popping blood vessels left and right, so much so that people don't think he'll make it through the presidency. Kamala Harris keeps acting arrogant, saying, "Oh, I'm a top tier candidate," which just turns off a lot of people.
Basically fallen out of the. She's fallen out of the front runnership.
Yeah, she's fallen out of the front runnership. She's no longer a top tier candidate. And Bernie Sanders is throwing out Linda Sarsour, like one of the most avowed anti-Semites of American history, for cheap heat that is ultimately going to burn him in the long run. Because when you have David Pakman making videos about how bad an idea that is, you really screwed up, Bernie. So what's going to happen is, as all of these people fall out of love with their primary candidates, they will start falling in love with their secondary candidates. And who is their biggest secondary? Elizabeth Warren. So she's really going to be, we said this weeks ago, and now everybody else is coming to this conclusion finally, that she is going to be the gal to beat. And the hilarious part, though, is she's the only one that Trump stomps in test areas.
Well, but here's
like
the thing,
New Hampshire.
But I think it's a greater representation of what we see when it comes to winning being the president, because winning your party and then winning the nation is two entirely separate things. And I think if you were to ask Democrats, a lot of them would say, I would like to have Elizabeth Warren represent me. But then you ask, do you think she has a chance on stage against Donald Trump, calling her Pocahontas and bringing up all the awards for people of color she accepted, and then came out like a year ago and said, oh yeah, all that's fraudulent, by the way. I know what's wrong now. Like, that kind of stuff is really not going to work in her favor in a larger election against Trump. But hold on. I want to get back to the point of the video. Right?
Yes.
The point of the video is Yang versus Trump in the movement on Twitter. Like I said, really quickly running through this Emerson poll, to give a little more context in the state of New Hampshire, this was actually found as I thought was kind of fascinating, really. I'm showing you guys 2016 presidential election. You'll notice that Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump by 0.3% for all 4 electoral votes, but still.
Razor thin.
0.3%. It's realistically, if the Green Party didn't get 1% of the vote, maybe Donald Trump wins, right? Like, I mean, maybe Green Party, but Libertarians got 2%.
The Green Party actually played the spoiler role in a state.
Well,
they actually played the spoiler role.
Yeah, if Libertarians were at 2% instead, maybe a lot of Libertarian voters would have gone Trump.
Libertarians doing that. Libertarians can regularly get 1.5%, 2% somewhere. 4.1 is very high for Libertarians.
Hey, like I said, it only has to be 0.3% lower, and it's an actual time. Again, back to the point, though. The point here is that this is a state that is very close. And because I wanted to look and double check to make sure. I know some of the Northeast states are a little bit different. But if it was a state Hillary won 70-30, then like this poll means nothing. But when they're asking people from New Hampshire, a state which was razor thin, we look today, what are the candidates that would have been a razor thin margin of victory for Donald Trump if he would run against them this year, right? Like who's close? And you look and a lot of people are beating him by multiple percentage points. It's only when you get down to Kamala Harris, which I don't think she can beat him, and in New Hampshire, right? But like in an actual larger vote. And then Elizabeth Warren, most people think she doesn't have a chance, which just anecdotally, when I speak to people online, I speak to people in person, everyone says the same thing. Like, I like Elizabeth Warren, but she probably has no chance against Trump. Like, he's going to destroy her. So the big takeaway from this is in a state that is basically, as of 2016, really dead even. Like, it seems that in the last 2 years, we've seen, judging by this poll, which by the way, I know it's not a giant state in New Hampshire. There's more than 1,000 people in New Hampshire. So keep in mind, this is the data we see today. But maybe it could spell a little bit more of a further movement to a little bluer New Hampshire than we've seen in the past. And again, though, if that's the direction the state's headed in, because the thing is, when I look at these polls, I remember when Andrew Yang was trying to get his 4 qualifying polls, looking at these polls, just looking at the numbers, being like, this is so not indicative of what we're probably actually going to see. Like, this is not the support levels I'm seeing.
So how do you feel about the hashtag? How do you feel about the hashtag that everybody wants? I mean, we're seeing all of the chatter. I'm getting the text messages. We're getting the DMs about everybody wanting to put out hashtag Yang beats Trump.
Here's Yang.
Trump fears Yang. How do you feel about that?
It's the hashtag on Twitter, man. To be frank, I feel basically nothing about it. I think it's a hashtag on Twitter. I think it's encouraging to see that we are seeing more and more Democratic voters leaning towards Andrew Yang over a Sanders, a Harris, and a Warren. Because here's the other thing that's also very important about this. Now, what's really weird, I'm just going to compare these two numbers. When you factor in margin of victory, Andrew Yang is a 9-point lead over Trump, but when you just look at Democrats and who they want, Andrew Yang is as favorable as John Delaney, just behind Cory Booker. Tulsi, shout out Tulsi, 6%. It's one of our bigger polls in this season. So the numbers here are weird to me. I actually have a I want to show you guys something here. I believe it was I don't know if the Hill reached out, but it was a quote in a Hill article from someone from Emerson, and they said, It is interesting to see Yang outperform his Democratic rivals against Trump. In this case, his lower name recognition may allow voters to idealize his candidacy, which is kind of a subtle little backhanded compliment.
Yeah.
But still, it is curious to see that in a state when you ask Democrats that are voting, a majority of them, overwhelming majority of them, support a lot of candidates that aren't Andrew Yang. And like I said, John Delaney is polling at, I believe, 1% or less nationally, and he's at 3% this poll. It's a weird poll. Some of the numbers are a little bit weird here. And the bigger thing is, I would just say, I don't know exactly what to make of this. Because the headline here as well is that it's not that Yang beats Trump, it's that so does Joe Biden. Like, Biden, you know what I mean? So I would say from this one thing, encouraging to see Andrew Yang's name recognition. He's almost top billed in this because you can't ignore that. And if these 1,000 people actually represent the entire state and we voted today, he would be close to beating Trump. But again, the bigger thing I want to highlight from this is New Hampshire voters still see Andrew Yang in like the John Delaney, Cory Booker category. I would say before he starts focusing on the president, get past Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg, and then look for the further. I think that's my bigger takeaway from it is yes, it is encouraging to see what we see down here. He still has a lot of candidates to pass in New Hampshire, which is a state he's going to have to win if he wants to move forward in this primary. You can't just lose the first 3 states if you want a chance of winning. There's a really funny story about how Bill Clinton actually lost. I believe it was New Hampshire to somebody, and to a guy whose name I don't remember, and Bill Clinton was president, right? So that shows you what can happen in these elections. But still, my personal takeaway is I would like to see Andrew Yang get past comfortably Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, candidates like this first, because really quickly we'll flash the oh, not yet, it crashed, but really quickly I want to flash over and just show you guys what we're seeing with the actual aggregate data for polls across. And like I said, we are seeing that Andrew Yang, like I said, I would just say before Andrew Yang puts his focus on the president and the White House, just get past Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris, get into that Sanders, Warren, Biden tier, then look forward to the president. Until then, it's the same thing I tell to Bernie Sanders supporters that are looking at Andrew Yang. I'm like, dude, Elizabeth Warren's taking your whole campaign, so focus on that campaign first. I think Andrew Yang maybe should just focus a little bit more what's in front. With the Yang Gang, we should more focus on how we get his name up in the Democratic side of the primary before we focus on a head-to-head with the president. Right now, he needs to be polling in double digits. Once he's polling at 14-15%, like third place, then hey, we're getting there. Until then, I just think that's where more focus should be, where it's what the clear and present danger is that he doesn't make it into this and he doesn't move forward in the primary as a result. So that's what I think.
Yeah, and I'm really glad to see that you're taking a little bit more of a conservative view on this, because the way I look at it is, first off, there's positive news here. I mean, he's getting top billing. If this were a movie poster,
close, almost,
he would be, you're not the top billing, you're right. But if this were a movie poster, he would be one of the first 3 names of the actors mentioned on the movie poster, which is, one of those big coups in Hollywood, right? So that's really good news from Emerson in New Hampshire. However, does it warrant this hashtag, and is that hashtag worth it? It's interesting. Actually, I'll just read one of the texts. I was texting earlier today. I was texting with Paget. I was texting with Scott. I was texting with a lot of people. And this is what I said, because my spider senses were up for some reason on this hashtag. And this is literally what I said. I put this in the Yang forum and everything. I said, I saw this, and sure, we'll want to cover it because people ask, are you going to cover it? Are you going to cover it? And I said, but with a million U's, that's a good idea. Yang consistently keeps growing without upsetting Trump, okay? Staying off Trump's radar for as long as possible only helps Yang. It's like the generals that tell their troops to hold their fire until the enemy's within range. It may be a good idea to wait.
But hold on, you really think that Trump isn't aware of Yang?
No, not a function of aware. Very aware of him, but he's not doing things that are going to start a Twitter battle with the biggest troll in Western civilization. And it's very easy.
I just want to bring one thing.
I let you just talk for 5 minutes straight.
I know, but what about when Yang called him fat?
I think he was small enough then that he flew under the radar and it went unnoticed, because let me tell you, he was not the same force in the political sphere that he is now. I mean, look at his Q3 reports and how much money he fundraised. That's some impressive data that all of a sudden is going to be showing up on opposition research radar. All of a sudden, he was a statistical nobody when we interviewed him in Pershing Square. Now he's a statistically significant person, and who knows, months from now he'll be even more statistically significant. And Andrew Yang's best moments are when he's counterpunching at a situation. Donald Trump's best moments are when he's counterpunching at a situation. Oftentimes the counterpunch can actually be worse than the strategic punch that somebody levels out there. I don't think it's a good idea for the Yang Gang to go on the offensive yet against Trump when they got to beat people in the primaries. I'm just like you. Like, focus on these other folks first, man, because, I mean, who knows? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he starts some Twitter feud, and maybe we see it if a meme war breaks out. If the Yang Gang can out-meme the Trump gang, that might happen. But it's very easy for people to have some minor successes and think that they're all of a sudden big fish, okay? When in reality, all they are little fish that have had laudable but small successes. Keep growing. See, the only problem with liberal candidates is their campaigns are run by liberals who are very passionately gung-ho, but sometimes it's easy for that to be foolhardiness, okay? And my sense right now is that Andrew Yang keeps growing. There's a reason why farmers are all conservatives. They understand that there's a lot of unglamorous work, like tilling the soil, fertilizing the soil, and digging up the soil that go into planting a successful crop. And sometimes you gotta wait through long seasons of drought and wait through long seasons of rain and all this other stuff so that you can then have a bountiful harvest when the right time comes. And Andrew Yang is there. He's farming. He needs to be out there planting seeds with all these people that don't know who he is yet, letting the Yang Gang show off their positive colors as they march through Santa Monica Pier saying, secure the bag, secure the bag. He needs to be cultivating all of the positive energy he can and be sowing all of these positive seeds so when it comes time to go to digital war, okay, he's got a huge army, okay, much bigger than the one he has now. So I don't know if it's necessarily a good idea. I think the focus should be elsewhere. I'm not going to stand in people's way, though, because what if I'm wrong? You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. I want to actually kind of amend this a little bit, though, because I have to admit, originally I was just thinking, like, Twitter trend, like, dude, whatever, trend whatever you want on Twitter. Like, I don't, like, you know, like, it's fun and but what does it actually mean? This is an interesting little story from the other day. Now, I actually can't repeat what was said about the president.
I was about to say, we'll get demonetized for sure if we repeat that
Chrissy
tweet.
Teigen to President Trump. What a PAB, I guess you could say you are. Now, the reason why is because later on, there's an update, but I want to show you something. Is that, so in a Twitter thread, Donald Trump, oh, sorry. I was moving the wrong one down. Top of that, guys. He actually responds to basically complainers in the media about him, and he refers to John Legend and his filthy mouth wife, which prompted Chris Teigen to say this in response. And anyway, so my larger point to this is, and this isn't news, right? But this is just from the numbers I'm bringing it up. This happened like yesterday. Is the fact that, you know, Donald Trump's aware of what's said about him. So but like I said, I think the bigger thing is, I think Donald Trump was well aware of Andrew Yang. And, dude, remember, he was the person who said that the only thing I fear is some total unknown coming around and beating me. And I think he recognizes the irony of, well, here's that total unknown coming around. Like I said, I just think the bigger thing is, it just, you got to kind of focus on what's in front of you. Right now, the president's not in front of Yang. What's in front of Yang directly is Pete Buttigieg and Kamala Harris.
Interactions like that, honestly, they just break my heart because I love John Legend. I love Chrissy Teigen. I think they're hilarious. They remind me of so many of my friends. I hope to work with them someday, and I think I would be friends with them. You know, and it's like you hate to see the culture war get to such a vicious point where multiple people you admire, you just see, you know, fighting each other like that. Honestly, it breaks my heart. So
that's why people didn't talk politics for the most part. That was etiquette for how long in this country where you just don't talk about politics all the time because people have different opinions and that's okay, but you don't have to argue about them. I don't know. Sorry. I guess what's on screen, I just wanted to close this really quickly, is again, just what we're looking at here. I would like to see the Andrew Yang line up in this big boy category and then start coming with the president. I'm serious because, dude, I don't think Biden's not in it for the long haul. It's 30% of the electorate's going somewhere. Eventually, some people are going to make up their mind. Is it Warren or Sanders? They're basically in a dead heat right now. They've kind of just fallen down. They're on top of each other. They're right there. It's a matter of who's it going to be. If Yang can get out of this riffraff, then I think it's a great idea to start focusing on the president. Because the bottom line is, until Yang gets out of this riffraff, I don't see why the president should acknowledge him.
My last analogy that is neither a World War II, okay,
or Argentina,
nor an Argentinian analogy, okay,
pest control
is not a pest control analogy, okay. Although the plant I'm about to mention could be considered an invasive species in some parts.
Yeah, I wouldn't know,
but you have to study bamboo. There are some species of bamboo that grow so quickly that the ancients used to swear that you could watch it grow while meditating if you achieved enough of a deep space. And some of these plants will grow up to 3 inches in a day, which you think figuratively actually could be almost watching it grow, right? But the point is, if you study the way bamboo proliferates, okay, there's these species that are intriguing where their root system will just grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And the root system will grow for weeks unnoticed underground until their biological clock gets set off, and boom, now it's time to grow upward. And when they grow upward, they just shoot inches a day growing. And you will literally come back from a 3-day vacation and there's, a 3-foot tall plant in your backyard of this bamboo that's grown through a deck. You know what I'm saying? Because it's that powerful. And that's the analogy that I see of the Yang Gang. I see value in just growing your roots, growing your roots, growing your roots. Look, we're not winning the election right now. We are developing our base. So let's grow our roots, grow our roots. Do we make it to the next debate stage? Yes. And let's shine there and then grow our roots. Do we make it to the 4th debate stage? Yes. And then let's shine there and let's grow our roots. And let's keep hitting these measurable quantifiers. Let's put in that unglamorous work that the farmers do so that when the harvest comes, we can reap a bounteous harvest and be ready for this battle and then shoot our bamboo roots up into the sky. I think that's the game plan, and staying off Trump's radar, I think, is part of that. I think it's going to be a huge part of that, because if you start pissing them off early, it just means that you are giving the troll a bigger reason to think about you and put more troll energy into you instead of striking when you have the element of surprise and popularity on your side.
I mean, I don't know about the whole. Bottom line is, if Yang's going to move forward in this campaign, eventually the president's going to look at the people that are running against him. The bigger thing
wait for Trump to come to you.
Hold on. The bigger caution I want to say to people, the bigger caution I want to give is, I get that this is cool to see Andrew Yang would beat Trump. Remember, though, we're talking about a poll that Andrew Yang is trailing Cory Booker by 1%, and I don't think it's time to spike the football yet. Let's get Andrew Yang past Booker, Gabbard, and Harris, and Buttigieg, and then let's talk more. I just want to caution people, don't get ahead of yourselves. Don't think because this is cool to see that Yang is having better favor, but would beat Trump in a head-to-head in the state of New Hampshire. Remember, this is the very same state where he's less favored than Cory Booker, Tulsi Gabbard, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg. Like I said, pass them, and then we'll start spiking the football. Until then, there's work to be done. That's more my larger point. And I think it's just greater to focus on spread Andrew Yang's name. Now, I wish we didn't wait so long in the video to bring this up. Is that not an effective way to spread? But what I would say, though, I guess, just to nip that in the bud, Yang, something related to Andrew Yang has been trending on Twitter at some point in the United States almost every day last.
That's fair.
I think it's just time to. We've probably seen the fruits of that, and we've seen it. He's moving up. But I think it's time to, like I said, just Twitter isn't real life, unfortunately. So if we can get the Yang word out, like I said, I want to see when they call people to poll them, Andrew Yang isn't polling in single digits. I want to see that first before I see what the president has to say about him. You know what I mean? I want to see Andrew Yang moving up at a rate where you're saying it's not just the fervor that's increasing, it's the numbers. Let's get him to double digits, and then, start looking ahead. Until then, it's not good to see that a poll came out where Andrew Yang is tied with John Delaney behind Tulsi Gabbard. That isn't good to see. That's the poll that came out. So it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Just take a deep look at what we're actually seeing here. And like I said, there's a lot of work to be done if Andrew Yang wants to find himself at the end of this thing standing with the last 3 or 4, really taking the heat from the president. Because, if I'm the president, why am I acknowledging 20 people? Give me a few and I'll start acknowledging them. If he wants to get there, he's got to pass these people ahead of him.
Okay, awesome. So anyway, let us know what you guys think below. We're still trying to read all these comments and get back to you guys as much as possible. Reach out to us on Discord with some of your opinions. If you want to contribute to the show, please make sure you check out the PayPal link below. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. If you haven't liked this video, please like it and share as much as you can with your friends on your Facebook profiles and your social media profiles, because independent political talk gets deprioritized now by all the Google algorithms. So we really need your help to grow, both financially and sharingly, I guess, online. So please let us know what you guys think. Opine. This is Problem Solver Politics. We'll see you guys in the next video.